Today is April 25th, 2015. Joining us on the porch are local musicians Alison and Zoe and Director of the Greater Oswego Fulton Chamber of Commerce, Greg Mills.
For family, what are you waiting for? Where friendships run deeper. Come join us on the porch. So glad you're on the
porch. You guessed it, kids. You're here for another exciting adventure of On the Porch. And we have some incredible guests, like always. But these ones are a little more incredible because we had to take 2 weeks off from the show to go find them. And as I was trekking across the great United States, I ended up in places outside of the great United States. And somewhere between Canada and Mexico, I stumbled into this tavern down a dusty road. And I know what you're thinking. A lot of your stories start with you in some tavern down some dusty road. But they don't. You just think that that's what. It's only happened a couple times. But this time is really important. It was Father O'Lafferty's Tavern. And I ended up there. Father O'Lafferty was working behind the counter. And I said to him, now, are you a real father? You know, are you a priest? And he was just kind of looking at me really weird. And I said, you know, are you a man of the cloth? And he picked up his bar towel and he said, yes. So I knew that I was in the right place. And there was, they were smoking there because wherever I was, they hadn't caught up with the rest of New York State anyway. And there was a lot of smoke. So it was real hazy. There was a lot of things happening. And so I ordered a drink, and I hung out at the bar, and I watched Father O'Lafferty do his thing and tell his jokes, and it was a ton of fun. Until somebody asked me where I was from because they didn't recognize my accent. And I said, well, I'm not the one with the accent because I'm from New York, and so everybody else has an accent. And then I tried to explain this, and they weren't getting it, and it wasn't funny. So I had to backpedal a little bit and get myself out. And so I said, you know, where I'm from is a developing place, and we're working really hard. And I said, you know, but when I was a kid, there were signs everywhere that said, the city with the future. Every time you drove in to town, there was a sign that said, the city with a future. And so I went on to explain all of the really cool things that would happen, like it was going to rain. You knew it was going to rain because you could smell chocolate. Or you could smell hops from the Miller Brewery. And so, you know, I'm going on and on and on. And there's a gentleman sitting down a ways from the bar who just every once in a while would look over and smile. And eventually I walked down and I said, you know, are you from a similar place? Like, do you feel the same way? And he said, you know, I'm the executive director of the Greater Oswego Fulton Chamber of Commerce. I said, oh my gosh, you know exactly where I'm talking about. So Greg Mills and I got into this really awesome conversation, and we were talking about our childhoods and, talking about the town and all of the towns and talking about Oswego County and all of the great things happening. And then from behind us drifted sounds like woodland fairies. And I swear that as I looked through the haze toward the makeshift stage, it was just a stack of pallets. I looked, and there was like glitter in the smoke, and I knew that it hadn't been there a minute ago, and I thought maybe that the environment was so oxygen deprived that maybe I was seeing stars and I was getting ready to pass out. But it was just created by these two sisters that were singing. And then I started laughing because they were talking about how they were born in another country, and I thought, oh, that's their shtick. You know, they're really, like, they're from Marcellus, New York, and they're not, you know, they're not from anywhere other than that. And so I'm cool. Like, I won't give them a hard time. I won't, like, blow them out, you know, and they sang some really cool stuff. So Alison and Zoe are there, and they're creating, you know, like pixie dust in the smoke with their music, and everybody, they're like sirens, you know, everybody just kind of gets sucked toward the stage, and then the police showed up, and there was, like, it was really odd because I didn't know anything existed outside of what was happening on that stack of pallets. And so, you know, Greg turned me and said, we make our exit. And like Batman, we just, like, flew up through the ceiling, and we were out and gone and hitchhiking home. I was hitchhiking home. Greg is an upstanding man and had his own transportation and was able to drive himself safely to where he needed to be. And as I was leaving town on a bus, I saw him on a bicycle, and he was just He was gone, man, making dust on that dusty road. So here they are. I was able to get them all together again, and we were reminiscing about our time at Father O'Lafferty's. And so now I'm just excited that they're all here again, and we're sharing our stories and creating more pixie dust. So Alison and Zoe, you're on the porch.
And you all are welcome to sing along for the last line of the verses. She'll repeat the line, and I'll repeat it with her, and you can repeat it with us.
'Twas of a young maiden who lived all alone. She lived all alone on the shore. Oh, there was nothing she could find for to comfort her mind, to roam all alone on the shore, shore, shore.
But to roam all alone on the shore.
'Twas of a young captain who sailed the salt seas. Let the winds blow high and blow low, low. I will die, this young captain did cry, if I can't get that maid from the shore, shore, shore.
If I can't get that maid from the shore.
I have lots of silver, I have lots of gold. I have lots of costly ware. Oh, I'll divide with my jolly ship's crew, if they'll row me that maid from the shore, shore, shore.
If they'll row me that maid from the shore.
After long persuasions, they brought her on board. Let the winds blow high and blow low, low. There he sat her a chair in his cabin below. Yes, adieu to all sorrow and care, care, care.
Yes, adieu to all sorrow and care.
She sat herself down in his cabin below. Let the winds blow high and blow low, low. There she sang so sweet and complete. She sang captain and sailors to sleep, sleep, sleep.
She sang captain and sailors to sleep.
Lie, da 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 dum. La da da da, la da 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 dum, la da da dum.
She robbed him of silver, she robbed him of gold.
She robbed him of costly ware, oh,
and she stole his broadsword to use for an oar. She rowed her way back to the shore, shore, shore. She rowed her way back to the shore.
Oh, was my man crazy, or
was my man drunk?
Or was my man sunk in despair? Oh, for to let her go away with her beauty so gay, to row her way back to the shore, shore, shore,
and to row her way back to the shore.
Your men were not crazy, your men were not drunk, your men were not sunk in despair. Oh, I deluded your sailors as well as yourself. I'm a maid once again on the shore, shore, shore.
I'm a maid once again on the shore.
The Scottish wore kilts. Did the Irish ever wear skorts? Because today's episode of On the Porch Radio Hour is brought to you by Skorts. Those wacky folks that have brought you combinations like chocolate and bacon, labradoodles, taco ziti, and backpack hydration systems are at it again with Skorts. We all fell in love with those short trousers culottes, and now it's time to fall in love with Skorts. Developed to provide more freedom to do activities such as sports, gardening, or even bike riding. But they give you the appearance of a skirt. Do you love wearing shorts? Well, now you can. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, just slip on a skort. They resemble a pair of shorts with a fabric panel over the front to give that classy skirt-like appearance. I know the next time I'm asked, honey, what is appropriate to wear for this event? My answer, skort. Every time. Women golfers, bike riders, 10-pin bowlers, office professionals, and tennis players are all enjoying the freedom and class of skorts. Stop trying to figure out how to wear that skirt comfortably. Trade it in for a skort. Stop stressing about riding your bike to meet the girls out for dinner. Put on your skort. If you're moved by the music and want to get up and dance but are worried about revealing too much, get into your skort. You want to go fishing? And you're worried about the nice-looking man from down the street and how he may see you in a dingy pair of cutoffs? Fish in your skort. Cook, clean, take out the dog, go grocery shopping, pick up the kids, go to your karate lesson, go to the PTA meeting, and meet your family and the in-laws at that fancy Italian place, all in your skort. Save time, don't change. Wow your friends with how you can do it all in your skort. And because this is radio, I have to tell you, I'm wearing mine. Go out and get your skorts, everybody. What combination will they bring us next? We recently attended a cocktail party, and there were so many conversations that I didn't know where to turn. So I decided to stay right at the food and drink table, which was right in the middle of the room. From that position, I could hear all of the conversations, and then I thought I could just hook into the one I found most interesting or familiar and go from there. But I was wrong. I ended up playing a game with myself. I listened in the round, meaning I listened to each conversation for a few moments and then moved on to the next. I then compiled the notes of what I heard into one conversation, as if it was actually all the same conversation. So I'd like to share how that went.
Kathy, have you met my sister, Angelique? She's the one I was telling you about.
That's when the ladder lost its footing and I fell straight back.
Right into the turkey.
Really?
Yeah, you just suck the juice into the syringe and inject it in.
Just above the eye. There's still a mark there. See it?
When did you get here? Have you tried the cheese ball?
Is that the same one that swims for Arkansas? I heard she's making a run for the next Olympics.
Maybe. I stopped paying attention when they started planning this trip to watch the salmon run. How that can be fun is beyond me.
But there we were, face to face with a pack of wolves.
Bull.
No, really?
I didn't think that was even possible in New York City, just letting them run free like that.
Oh, sure. And the lead singer was in the booth right next to us. He looked awful. I guess life on the road can be...
Lazy. That's what she is. Never lifted a finger until the old man was around.
Must have wanted pieces of steak they threw out from the night before. Man, have you tried this cheese ball?
But really, are you interested in going in on this with me or not? It could turn over enough income to put away for your kids.
NASCAR? We drove all this way so you could watch NASCAR? I've been standing alone listening to that chick try to sell the cheese ball she brought for an hour. Who invited her anyway?
Jesus Christ.
Was a strong individual. Think about hanging on a cross like that. I do 3 sets of 10 reps each. I make sure the weight I lift is just enough for me to get that 10th rep out clean.
Of course you have to breathe through it. You have to be sure you're getting enough oxygen to your...
Buns. I forgot the buns. What are people going to put their barbecue on now?
Shoot!
Right below that line where the front leg muscle and the muscle along the back come together, the heart is located...
Just outside of Queens. And without a taxi.
I'll never agree to do that again.
And for a lousy $2?
I must have stood in line for an hour. If I knew that was the prize, I would have...
Jump into this ordinary cup of water. But first, allow me to introduce...
The man that started the whole thing never got a single charge brought against him. How can our justice system...
Bring out the dessert.
Oh, finally, someone who knows what they are doing. My car has been stuck in that spot for at least 3 hours.
Have you seen the time? I need to let my dog out.
And then with a bang, they were off, never to be heard from again.
That shack has been in the woods ever since I can remember.
Were they doing that out there the whole time?
I had no idea, or I would have joined in. It beats working for the city, I'll tell you that.
What? Already? But they just put out the desserts.
Oh, it was that long ago?
All right, I do have to get up in the morning.
Well, good night, Kathy.
For 25 years, Greg Mills has lived and worked in Oswego County. And for the last year and a half, he's been the executive director for the Greater Oswego-Fulton Chamber of Commerce. And I also hear that he's a really good helper. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate it.
No
It's actually only been a half a year. When you
Only
look
been
at October 2014, that's 6 months ago.
You know, it's funny you bring that up because I took the same math class 3 years in a row. I tell the kids I was a pro
four.
at course
3
one.
or 4?
Yeah. Okay, so for half a year. But, you know, you've done so much it feels like a year and a half.
Yeah.
I bet you have. When you first came on then, 6 months ago, what kind of things were you charged with? What were you faced with when you showed up?
Well, the business community, you know, as you mentioned in my introduction, the Greater Oswego Fulton Chamber of Commerce. So the Chamber of Commerce, over its evolution, was the Oswego Chamber, it was the Fulton Chamber merged with the Phoenix Chamber, and over that time, unfortunately, I think because of difficulties, manpower, focus, the Chamber lost sight of a lot of the businesses and the people in the community, and we have had to try to rebuild that. I came on board, as I said, at the end of October in 2014, and shortly thereafter, the one employee that was still there chose to go in another direction for her career, and I was, the only person there. And fortunately, shortly after that, a young lady who had worked for the Chamber for 8 years, had gone to the Red Cross, Danielle Hayden. Danielle came back on board, and it was a blessing because there was somebody that was known, had experience with the Chamber, and we were able to come together, kind of build a strategic plan, look at what we wanted to accomplish, and start reaching out to the business community, re-engaging them to build trust, confidence, and faith in who we were and what we were trying to accomplish for them.
That is cool.
So I guess it's really, if you talk about a challenge, it was, I think, reestablishing an identity that people could have some faith in, have some trust in, and engage with us. And that's right. I think that's what's critical.
Yeah. And how do you find, I'm going to use the word juggling because in my mind that's what it feels like, and it may not be juggling at all, but, do you find that there has to be a balance because you're working through 2 different cities, or is it, how does that work? Well,
and another problem that compounds, the struggle or the juggling, if you will, is that the Chamber had an office in Fulton. So anytime organizations merge, and for us that have been around Oswego County for a while, we've seen a lot of nonprofit, a lot of organizations that have had to merge because of the financial atmosphere that existed within the county. So you've seen the United Way, you've seen different organizations such as the Chamber, and a lot of times in those mergers, I think one of the communities feels that they're going to be left behind. And that actually did happen, where we closed the office in Fulton 6 months before I got there, had the office in Oswego, and I think from the community's perspective, they saw that closing as an exodus.
Okay.
And we needed to re-engage Fulton. We have to re-engage Oswego as well, and be out there and be visible. Through that entire challenge, I'm here tonight. I'm speaking wherever I can because of that visibility, because to build that credibility. But at the same time, we have bills to pay.
Right.
So those bills are going to be paid by people engaging with us and becoming members, or paying their dues and continuing to be members. So not only do we have to be visible, we also have to find ways to get people to pay their dues or invest in the Chamber, literally invest in the Chamber, so that we can continue to support the communities and the business that exists there.
Yeah, sure. So how does that look? What does it look like to, for a business to engage with the Chamber of Commerce?
That's a great question, because a lot of people say, well, the Chamber of Commerce, what do they do?
Sure.
Do they have a chamber? Is there a chamber inside the building? Do they make commerce? Are they a retail location? Is there a tangible value that I can reach out and grab off the counter?
That's right.
And in the Chamber, it's a very difficult question to be able to answer, because businesses are going to have unique needs. They're not always going to be the same. We can have 10 bullets that say these are the benefits of being a member, whether it be social media, whether it be through website, whether it be through network events. But that might work for somebody today, a particular business. Another business might say, well, you know what, I'm doing pretty good right now. I don't really see a value. I don't see something I can pull off the counter, or something you can share with me that's going to bring me a value that I want to become a member today. So that's a huge challenge right now, because we can't always be everything to everybody every day of the week and every month of the year. But through their support, and we need that support so we can exist and we can continue to exist. So there might be people that'll say, well, I don't need it today, and then something changes in their world, they add a new product, they put a new addition on their building, move to a new location, and the chamber can help with that visibility, help with that transition, help with that recognition. But that might be tomorrow, that might be next month, that might be next year. So that challenge, that juggle is, how do we bring value to people, and how can we engage people to understand that value might not always be there every day of the week, but it could be there tomorrow. But we're going to support them in being out there and being visible and networking and making connections for them. I think is critical.
Sure. Yeah, and of course they're doing their part as well,
Mm-hmm.
and showing up at those events.
Yep.
and that kind of stuff. Now, say a business wants to become part of the Chamber of Commerce. They want to invest in that, and they want to work on that relationship. Do you have the time and the availability to sit with them and kind of go through some of the stuff that you're talking about?
Well, it's funny you asked that question, Matthew. Last night, my son had a track meet, so great night to be out watching a track meet when it's 32 degrees out.
Right.
And track is in a singlet and a pair of shorts, and beautiful environment. But anyways, so sports, yeah. I'm going to get him one tomorrow. But after that meet, somebody wanted to meet with me, and they operated a business in Oswego. Her husband worked until 6, so I met with them at 6:30, and I have to make myself available now. And whatever that time commitment is, we as a chamber have to be able to make sacrifices and find time to engage people. I know I'm overusing that term, but I truly think that that's critical, is for people to feel that they're engaged, that there's a connection being made.
That's right.
So if that happens at 6:30 at night, 8 o'clock in the morning, whenever it is, I'm going to welcome those opportunities, like I welcome being here tonight, or wherever I can speak to people and have a voice so people can understand what we're trying to accomplish, that we're trying to be new and different and innovative, and look for ways to reach out to people that maybe they didn't think the chamber could do before, but ask and we'll do.
Right.
Because the kind of the slogan that we've come up with this year is, we have to look at our businesses and say it's for you because it's about you.
Right.
And if we don't recognize that, then we're not going to have a purpose or a need to be around. So we need to
Sure.
recognize that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know too, and I might be getting off topic here a little bit, but I know that both Fulton and Oswego are in the process of trying to, I don't even know what words I want to use, but maybe improve the aesthetics of
Oh yeah.
of their environment and the buildings and the businesses.
Mhm.
Is the chamber working with that as well?
And I know I answered some questions via email for you to
Mhm.
ask me these questions, but I don't remember answering that one. But somehow there's a vibe in the air, and there's an alignment in the moons and the stars that we are connecting, because everything you're saying is a great segue into what we're doing.
That's what I do.
And I don't know how you do it, but it might be the sports that bring you a level of comfort and,
it
and
can
allow your
breeze.
mind to just think openly.
That's right.
But no, I mean there are a lot of people, and it's powerful to be a part of, truly, because I just turned 55 last week. If anybody wanted to send me a belated card or a gift, but
Come on it.
I've been in this community 25 years. I was a banker. I've been involved in community development. I was involved in the YMCA. I've done a number of things, but all throughout my existence, professionally and personally, I've wanted to make a community better for not only me, but for my children to grow up in, and the people around me, because you want to have great neighbors, you want to have great people, and you want to live in a community where you feel that you're supported. And so you look at places like the Oswego Renaissance Association, where they're doing neighborhood revitalization. There's a group in Fulton that started up called Fulton FYI, and they're just community members that are coming together to have dialogue and conversation on what can they do to improve the community that they live in and attract people to come to the community.
Right.
And we are trying to do everything we can to participate in those conversations and be involved in those engagements.
Good for you. I think that's really important. And I know I referenced this earlier, but I think I talk about this on the show all the time, but having grown up in Fulton and seeing some of the evolution that has happened, one way or the other, there's been kind of an ebb and flow, and it feels really good to hear people talking about what can we do, being in environments like our kids' sporting events, or at the Christmas tree lighting, you hear both sides of that just sitting in with community members. Some people are feeling discouraged and want to see things happening, and some people are really excited.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that having somebody like yourself and the Chamber of Commerce being really intertwined with that and weaving their way into that is really important. And I think that it feels to me like you're really hitting a lot of that stuff.
Well, we're trying, and we need to be that connection point, help to facilitate those things, and try to make them happen. And what's really kind of neat is that there are people that are moving to Oswego and moving to Fulton and moving to Oswego County that are seeing the treasure that exists here.
That's right.
And engaging with people that live here. And then there's what I really think is the word that exemplifies what's going on with the personality of our communities is people are gaining confidence.
Right.
And I think over time, because businesses left, things deteriorated, something happened, people started to lose faith.
Mm-hmm.
But now the Renaissance Association, what they're doing is matching funds. $1,000 you invest, $1,000 they'll invest.
Right.
$2,000 into a home, that's not a lot of money, but you paint your front porch, you put flowers out, and all of a sudden the neighborhood becomes, hey, wow, look what they did.
That's right.
Let's do that. 14 homes in a block, do something together.
Yeah.
And then the people are like, hey, well, look what's going on there. And that creates momentum, and that momentum is what we're going to build on. We're going to encourage, and we're going to try to reinforce to get people to say this community can be better, and we can be a part of that improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have one last question that I'm going to follow up with, but I've been asking a lot of questions, and I'm feeling really moved in this moment because I'm hearing you talk about how you're meeting with people and you're getting involved and you're letting them see you, which I think is super important. You're not sitting in your office all the time. You're out in the community. You're finding out what people are needing. You're meeting with businesses. You're meeting with individuals. And so what is the question that you find yourself asking constantly of the people that you're meeting with?
First of all, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is, what can we do for you?
Sure.
And because, again, like I said, it's for you, it's about you. I can give you a list of things that say, hey, we do this, 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 and this, and all these nice bullets.
Mm-hmm.
And I can share that with you. But what I really need to do is be receptive and listen to what you need, and listen to that and react to it. And I can talk all day.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't act on what I'm talking about, then their confidence goes down the tubes.
That's right.
So let's listen, let's engage, let's try to put together a plan of action that can then facilitate and answer their issues, and hopefully come to conclusions and solutions that improve their business and improve the community that they're living in.
Yeah, that's right on, Greg. Thank you. All right, so people are now inspired to come and meet with you and to talk with you and to become more involved with the chamber. I know this is happening right now. So what they need to do is they need to be able to contact you.
Yep.
So how and where are they going to do that?
Well, I'll be driving home tonight.
All right.
I'll be in a green truck. But no, we can be reached at info@OswegoFultonChamber.com or 315-343-7681. Somebody will answer the phone. If we don't, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And what we have told people, what can we do for you? Or ask people, what can we do for you? And engage us. Don't question from afar. Approach us.
That's right.
Let's have dialogue. Let's have conversation. Let's sit at the table and say, we're here, you're there. In the middle, we're going to have a solution that's going to help both of us.
Yep.
And going forward together, we're going to have strength in numbers, and we're going to make solutions that are going to improve our community.
That's right. I don't know if this is appropriate, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So there's the Greater Oswego Fulton Chamber of Commerce. And you had mentioned that there was a Phoenix Chamber of Commerce earlier. Is there also a county Chamber of Commerce?
No, there's not.
Okay. Okay.
There's been some conversations. A lot of smaller communities like Pulaski, Parrish, Mexico have chambers of commerce. It's a volunteer organization made up of local business people.
Right.
And they get together whenever they can if there's a project or an event going on. But we are the only chamber in the county where we have true employees that are compensated by the membership dues and so on. So right now we represent Oswego Fulton in the Phoenix area. We have members in Hannibal. We have members in quite a few different areas around central New York. But our primary focus would be those three communities.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And so if you're listening and you're interested, get a hold of the Chamber of Commerce and Greg Mills, because I think there's really good things happening in these areas, and there's people out there that can support you. And thanks for being one of those people, Greg. I really appreciate it.
Can I add a couple things?
Please do.
Real quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that we had some music tonight, and Farmers Market is a huge, huge part of what the Chamber brings to both Fulton and Oswego. The Fulton Market is primarily a produce and food market. The Oswego Market actually becomes kind of an event on Thursday nights. And this year, we're going to have entertainment as one of our themes. We'll have Polish night, Italian night, Irish night, Buck night. We might have some Irish singers. We're going to have a wellness theme. We're going to have a literacy theme. And we're going to have a safety theme where the police and the fire department will become. So we'll be doing that, rotating it every week. And I think it's a really kind of a neat, different way to approach the market and bringing more people together and hopefully finding resources that can benefit the community. So I'm really excited about the not only warmer weather coming and farmers market and the produce starts coming out, but a new approach to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks
You're
for being
welcome.
on the porch, taking time
and
to
on
be
the
here.
porch, I have to tell you, as I said, I'm getting a little older. I get a lot of ARP mail now, but throughout my life, when somebody's asked me what I want to be and what I want to do, I want to sit on the porch when I'm older, looking back on my life, drinking a glass of lemonade and saying I did the best I could.
That's right.
And I'm going to do that on the porch.
Thanks, Greg. Greg Mills, thanks for being on the porch, and thanks for your investment, too. It shows, and we really appreciate that. Just remember that you're listening to On the Porch Radio Hour, and we'll be right back.
What's happening in Central New York is brought to us by iHeart Oswego. The CNY Arts Center hosts a Writers Cafe the last Sunday of the month, with the next session on April 26th. The Arts Center is also currently offering adult painting classes, cake decorating classes, and writing classes. And Narnia the Musical, with a cast of all ages, closes at the CNY Arts Center this weekend, with shows tonight at 7:30 and tomorrow at 2:30. Visit cnyartscenter.com for more information. Glengarry Glen Ross runs at the CNY Playhouse through May 2nd. Visit cnyplayhouse.com for more information. Seussical the Musical is coming to the Red House for 3 weeks beginning April 30th. Visit theredhouse.org for more information. Of Mice and Men is presented by the Oswego Players now through May 3rd. Visit oswegoplayers.org for more information. The Oswego Music Hall is bringing Robbie Hecht tonight at 7:30 p.m. The new songwriter series The Hook is Friday, May 1st, featuring Mark Hoffman, Elsa Kennedy, and Andrew Ruddy. Visit oswegomusichall.org for more information. The Wooden Apple Farmstead offers a wild edible CSF community-supported foraging through the summer months. This is a specialty niche of the community-supported agriculture movement. It is an opportunity to learn much more about the food that grows right around us. Between late May and early September, participants will receive 7 boxes with 2 wild edibles in each box. The box will include information about each plant, including identification tips and a recipe to try. Some of the wild edibles will be already prepared before going into the boxes. All members of the CSF will be invited to participate in foraging identification walks throughout the growing season. Please register by May 20th. To register for the Wooden Apple Farmstead CSF, call 315-591-0711 or visit us at the Wooden Apple Farmstead on Facebook. The Red Room Sessions at the Wooden Apple Farmstead is a time for songwriters, musicians, and anyone else who wants to build their musical skill and knowledge to get together. We share songs we are working on, bounce musical ideas off each other, and we usually have time to just play a little music. This is a supportive environment where all levels of songwriting and musical experience are welcome. The next session is May 3rd at 6 p.m.
Born 14 months apart, Alison and Zoe started singing 22 years ago, and they haven't stopped yet. And they're finally putting out their first album. So, good things, I guess, come to those who wait, right? So welcome to the porch,
Thank you very much,
Thanks.
Matthew.
Yeah,
Thanks for
man.
having
Thanks
us.
for being here. You are from Marcellus, and you have been singing for 22 years because you've been singing ever since Zoe was born. Is that right?
Exactly.
But from what I understand, you guys have basically been singing since before you were talking.
That's what my mom always says about Allison. That basically, doesn't she say that? That you were
Even
singing
before I was
before you were
talking, I was singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never stopped.
I believe that. I don't know. I was pretty young, so I don't remember, but it wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me either. And so you've been journeying together and singing, and at what point did you decide you wanted to, take what you're doing out and letting other people enjoy it?
I don't know that it was our decision.
Isn't that the way it goes?
Yeah. I think it kind of like swept us up like a gust of wind. It was like all of a sudden we were on stages. It kind of
Yeah.
happened like that.
We were playing in people's living rooms for friends of our parents and family, and then we were playing at open mics, and then someone
For
would ask us,
years.
hey, do you
For
want
years
to
and
open for
years.
this? And
Yeah.
we had our own show, just sort of has
Yeah.
been evolving.
It's definitely been a long time coming because I feel like even elementary, middle school, high school, we were playing coffee houses and
Right.
just
Mhm.
open mics and anything we could do. Like
We-
whether it was just a song or 5 songs or an hour, we finally got like an hour time slot at Burritt's Cafe in Weedsport way back
Nice.
when. And then, gradually from there we just kind of met the right people and people told the right people and we sang around the right people and
We just sort of say yes to most opportunities. Someone will come along
Yeah.
and say, hey, do you want to play
That's
for this
big.
thing? And we say, yeah, that sounds like a thing
And
we
then
want to do.
and then after that we ask, what is it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Careful.
and where do
Sing
we need
somewhere?
to be?
Yeah, wait.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta watch those gigs sometimes. But good for you. And you're obviously committed to doing this together because you're still only using one guitar. Right? And
Yeah.
you just kind of hand it back and forth, which
That's
is really
true.
cool to watch.
Well, I've actually been playing more ukulele lately, jamming
Nice.
with different people, learning more chords, learning songs, playing around with it.
Awesome.
So
And you're learning cello.
learning cello is always
And
learning
I'm learning banjo. Just
Right.
had my first banjo lesson the other day. So I think that we're both branching out, and as much as the one guitar has been like our focal point, I think we're spreading our wings a little bit from just that avenue of expression.
Cool.
Yeah.
So on this album, are you branching out? Are you experimenting? Are you adding other instrumentation? What should we expect?
We are not doing any other instrumentation ourselves, but we have a couple people who came in to play with us, which
Okay.
was awesome. That was
Yeah.
one of our first times in the studio that we had other musicians to add for our tracks. We have Joey Arcuri playing bass on one of our songs. He's in the band Driftwood, and he's just an awesome person. And then we have Andrew Ruddy from the Ruddy Well Band playing banjo on a song. Then we had Monique Ritter put in some violin bits. And we hope to just expand from there. Like,
Yeah.
this is just an EP. It's only 5 songs, and it's mostly us singing with the guitar. That's like the focus, but our whole intention of our full album to come is to have just tons of instrumentation. We want a women's choir. We want a full string quartet or whatever orchestra.
Yeah.
We have a lot of ideas.
We have
and
Awesome.
a lot of ideas. Yeah, Philharmonic Orchestra.
Cool.
yeah, looking towards a lot of
However.
creative collaboration with different people.
Excellent.
Once we've got this EP done and out, and we start getting the money back from it, we're going to look
Right.
towards doing a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo
Cool.
to fund the next project that we want to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll probably be at least a year-long, 2-year-long thing we're thinking.
Yeah, it'll be a whole
but
exploration.
yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Get a lot of people involved. Doing
Sure.
what they do.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to another point. And as you're talking about all of the stuff that you want to be adding, okay, so I have 2 points, and I might come up with a third. But the first one that I want to make is something that you should consider. Since you're talking about adding all of this stuff, I hear one thing that's really in now is just having a male in the back of all of this female stuff happening, just talking. And so, if you're ever looking if you're ever looking for something like that, you know.
I don't know who we'd ask though.
Yeah, I hear that's
Greg.
cool. Yeah, Greg Mills would be.
We could have a
would be
whole
great.
crew. You could just take turns. It could
Yeah.
be constantly rolling.
That's
I
right.
think the world needs more of that.
24/7.
Men
Yes.
talking.
White men talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's
Did you
right.
get the sarcasm
come
italics on there?
Come on. Awesome. The second point, I'm
Yes,
going to
we're with you.
quickly to the second point. No, the second point is that I think you're doing it right. So you have, this EP that you're putting out that's just real, like bare bones, guitar, and the two of you. And that's, I haven't experienced you as much as the rest of the world. Or, maybe I have seen you play enough. I don't know. But that's what is drawing me in. And that's what, when I've seen you guys play out, that's what I think is drawing in other people. Is just your voices and that one guitar. And so to start with that EP, and just in that, you really, you're going to hook people. And then you're going to smash them in the face with this big album. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. So there's no question follow up to that. I just really, wanted to be that guy talking.
Great.
Yeah. But I think that you're doing it right. And I do actually have a question. And I'm just wondering if that was part of your plan, or is that just another piece that just seemed to fall into the right place?
What is
You
your
have no
question?
idea what I'm talking about.
He's
We'll
asking
edit that
if
out.
our whole plan of just having the EP being the bare bones, just
Yeah,
us with
that
the guitar,
was our
and then
intention.
to expand and have instrumentation and other vocals and people coming in. I mean, we honestly didn't even plan on doing an EP, so that was kind of a curveball. And once
Okay.
we got into the studio, we were like, wow, this is a lot of time, a lot of energy, and we were really enjoying the process, but we didn't want to push ourselves so hard that we couldn't come through the other end and feel really confident with every single song. And so
Right.
we decided to cut it back and just have these 5 songs and just feel really good about them, put that extra little bit of time and not have the pressure of, and then we need this instrument, and these extra people in. It just felt like it saved a lot of unnecessary energy
That's
being
right.
expelled.
We wanted to do what we've been doing and do it well and represent it well, and let that be the way that we evolve into the next step.
Yeah.
Which it
And
has
that's what
been
this
in terms
is.
of
Yeah.
collaborating
This is a
with people.
great seed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really awesome. So during your first experiences in a studio, did you find that to be an easy transition for you? Was that intimidating? How did you go about, how did you feel about that experience?
I think originally we were intimidated, and honestly, once we kind of settled into it, it was such a relief. It was like a weight was lifted off of us, and
Sure.
and I think we were able to express in a way that we can't always do on stage. And in some ways, we have the kind of response of the audience, which feeds it, and we kind of are able to give back. But there's all the kind of nerves associated with it, and that feeling of people are looking at us and listening to us. And then once we were in the studio, it was so expansive, and yeah, it's just been a really great process, and all the people we've worked with, and it's been pretty amazing. Yeah.
We've been working with Jeremy Johnson at
Mhm.
Subgut Studios, and he creates a really good space there, really welcoming.
Yeah.
He's all about, getting that take no matter what it takes.
Right.
And he
Right.
really lives by that. He sticks to his
done.
word. Yeah.
That's awesome. He's a good guy.
Mhm.
It was maybe a month or so ago, I think, that I saw a picture of you guys online, and I think it was of you in the recording studio, sitting on a picnic blanket, just chilling with your guitar. And I thought, man, if this is how they're recording, people are really going to hear the real
The
Alison and
relaxed.
Zoe,
Yeah,
and that
definitely.
I think that picture had a lot to say. And so if your album's going to sound as good as the experience looked, then I think we all have something really exciting to look for.
I sure hope so. Yeah.
So you're going to now give us another song? Are you going to play us something from the upcoming album?
Yeah, we're going to play the song that is the title track for the EP. So it's called Home Is.
Awesome.
And you can actually download it online, AlisonZoe.bandcamp.com, for however much you want, including free.
And that's where you can also download our EP once we're finished, which
Mhm.
we're in the final stages of production, so we're hoping within the next few weeks we'll be done and
Complete.
yeah.
Yeah. If you
It'll
want
be
to
out
be
there.
on our mailing list, You can email us at AlisonandZoe@gmail.com. That's Allison with one L.
That's the important
ALISON
piece.
Yep.
ANDZOE.
Excellent.
And we also have a couple things on YouTube. Not much, but we have, I think we have a couple of videos on there, and then we have a SoundCloud and Facebook page. If you look for us on Facebook, then you can find everything pretty much.
Good.
Kind of that network.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the porch.
Yeah, thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having us. It's
Yeah,
amazing
man.
here.
Yeah,
Cozy.
Thank you.
Alison and Zoe.
On the train from my place to yours, we started singing and it made us all less bored. It revolutionized the dull mundane. To sing a song together can't help to keep us sane. On the day when you reclaimed the house to make it home again, you cleaned and cleansed and doused. Well, I was on my way back home, but home is nowhere you can live alone. Home's the way I feel with folks I've known, and home's the feeling I'll take with me when I go. I found a home in your womb. Now I find a home in your face, 'cause home is not a place. In the garden that we forgot to tend, we finished letters that we forgot to send to old friends we don't know anymore. But we've got so much to share with the people they were before. Home's the way I feel with folks I've known, and home's the feeling I'll take with me when I go. I found a home in your womb. Now I find a home in your face. 'Cause home is not a place. Thank you.
I see you again, I think of what might be, what could have been. I find myself retracing the past, replacing the last. I feel like I'm in the same old skin that's crawling, it's falling for you again. If I don't feel fine, it's alright. Make it, I'll break it, I'll love it, I'll hate it. Money loves money and fame loves fame. We stumble around, ignoring the pain. Say it looks pretty, like the city. If I've learned nothing else, it's that history repeats itself. If I don't feel fine, it's alright. Make it, I'll break it, I'll love it, I'll hate it. What in, what could have been, what should have been, what might be, what I didn't want. What is like me, a kaleidoscope, whirling before me. It's colors, it's changes, it's moving arrangements. If I've learned nothing else, it's that history repeats itself. And if I don't feel fine, it's alright. I'll make it, I'll break it, I'll love it, I'll hate it. I'll make it, I'll break it, I'll love it, I'll hate it. Thank you.
Sunday, May 1st, 1966. Calamine Ubrambe was looking out and smiling over the work she had done throughout her time in Tonkahogen. And it was on May 1st, 1966 that she got her official closure. 32,291. That was the number of articles of trash that she, all alone, cleaned up within the town limits of Tonkahogen. And she brought them to the center of town. And she was trying to motivate people to build something out of them or do something with it. But she just stood in the middle of town with this massive pile of bags full of 32,291 pieces of trash. And she started out by giving that number. And then the second thing that she followed that up with was most of these articles of trash are from chain restaurant that has found its way to Tonkahogen. There was one on one side of Legodisho River, and there was one on the other side of the river, and there was one just outside of town on the highway. And she was trying to make that connection of, if we're living in that fast pace of a world, then we start to lose sight of what is really important. So she brought 32,291 pieces of trash to the middle of town, and she made a commitment that every year she was going to do this. And in 1966, it was a really big deal, not only because it was the first year she did it, but because it was after that massive snowstorm, and all that snow had piled up in town. And then once it was gone, those beautiful sheets of clean, white snow left nothing but mud and dead grass and trash. All along the roadsides, in ditches, piled up along the sides of mailboxes where they blew and got stuck there right before the snow. And she walked around with a broom handle that she'd broken off and drove a nail into the end, and she just stabbed and stabbed and stabbed for days and emptied into trash bags and stabbed and emptied into trash bags. And what she told everybody from the middle of town as she kept her arms spread out like Chief every time he's addressing town, she stood there. And it looked like when the sun was hitting her face, it seemed like everything else was just silhouette. almost like she was trying to hug this massive pile of trash, but there was no way. It was too big. But she was embracing the town. And she wasn't just asking them to pay attention, but she was asking them to be invested in town, to be invested in their lives and in how they were living their lives. And she told them at the end of her address, they needed to take this trash and they needed to do something with it. Because if they weren't going to put it in trash, if they weren't going to take it somewhere to where it was supposed to be thrown out, then there needed to be something done with it so that everybody could see it and it would act as a reminder. So a young man in 8th grade stepped forward and said, I'll take it. I'll take it all. And she and him worked for weeks and they built this structure. And what it ended up being, nobody really knew for sure. Or at least they couldn't agree on it. But that's what art is, right? It's just something that means something to everybody. But if the artist doesn't tell you what their motivation was, if the artist doesn't tell you what the end result is, then it's there for you to create your own. And so nobody could agree on it. Nobody could agree on what shape it took, but they could all agree that it was beautiful. Not because it was a big pile of 32,291 pieces of trash, but it was blood and sweat and hard work and from the people. It was left there from the people of town, and it was left there for everybody to see. Over the next 4 years, those numbers went down. Every year, she turned in her number at the end of her journey, and the numbers went down. And one person stepped up when they read the newspaper article, and they wrote a letter to the editor saying, why are we praising this young woman when she's bringing less trash? He didn't get it. He didn't understand that she was working just as hard. He didn't understand that the rest of the town noticed. And so the letters that went to that town newspaper that week filled the newspaper. There was nothing else that they could print because it was all letters to the editor about how proud the town was of Calamine. And on April 15th, 1970, Gaylord Nelson, U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, called Calamine on the phone and said he wanted to tell her story. And she said, why? You're in Wisconsin, and I'm in Tonkahogen. Do you really think anybody's going to care? Do you think anybody's really going to listen? They don't know me. I'm not local. They can't see it. And he went on to explain what his vision was and how her story had gotten to him and how it was part of his inspiration. It was 7 days later that Gaylord Nelson started Earth Day, and he wanted to tell her story. He wanted that inspiration to be an inspiration for so many other people. He wanted her story to be that big. He wanted it to be what it was. And as he asked her question after question after question and told her about his life and about how inspired he was and about all of the great things that he wanted to be doing, he then explained not just his inspiration but his motivation. And he said, before I get off the phone, I need you to know that I'm going to tell your story. And although I know you can't be there, I'm going to have a picture of you that I cut out from the newspaper. But I need to know. I really need to know deep down what your true motivation was. And that lump got real solid in her throat because she knew that someday somebody was going to ask that question, and she'd never really thought of the answer. And as she stood there on the phone in the kitchen, all wrapped up in that really extra long cord from spinning, trying to think about how she was going to answer the question, she looked out the window and saw her reflection. But she didn't focus on herself. She saw everything behind her. And she smiled, and she swallowed that lump, and it smoothed right out. One breath, one answer, and it was, this is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. That's right, friends. You made it. It's the end of another exciting adventure through the world of On the Porch Radio Hour. And I want to thank Claude for being here. And I want to thank Alison and Zoe, and I want to thank Greg Mills. And I want to thank our audience in-house. I want to thank our audience on Concert Window. Thanks for being here and tuning in. And I want to thank everybody that's listening on our website. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of On the Porch. Thanks for letting us be a part of your lives. And until next time, peace to your journey.
On the Porch is a production of the Wooden Apple Farmstead, with host and writer Matthew Wood. Our musical director and sound technician is Gina Holsapple. Our stage manager is Ray Monet. Special guests include Alison Mullen-Stout, Zoe Mullen-Stout, and Greg Mills. Find information about past shows, being on the porch, and much more online at ontheporch.weebly.com.